with the halachos of Mezuzah. So the halacha is that if a house or a room does not have a roof, then it is not obligated Mezuzah. However, this is somewhat limited, as this is only when it's supposed to have a roof. So if you have a regular, for whatever reason, in somebody's house, there is no roof over it, so it is not obligated at the time. However, if it is something that is intended to have, if not intended to have a roof. So for example, we discussed the entranceway to a courtyard. Courtyards generally don't have roofs, and therefore it is obligated even though it doesn't have a roof. Again, it's only when it's supposed to, but yet it doesn't. That's when it becomes not obligated in a mezuzah. Now, let's say you have sometimes you'll have this on a deck, which is partially enclosed with a roof and partially not. So then the halach is as follows: if the doorway is under the area which has the roof, then provided that space that is covered by the roof has the amount, which again is daled by daled amos, 4 by 4 amos, then it becomes obligated mezuzah. Or if it's not 4 by 4 but 6 by 2, then one would do it without a beracha. But if it's not, let's say the doorway is under the unroofed part, under the non-closed in area, then it would not become obligated in mezuzah. Okay. Let's say you have a doorway without a door. So you just imagine if that entrance over there's no door. So there's a machlokes. We're going to discuss later the requirements of the doorpost itself. But let's say it doesn't have a door. So then there's two opinions whether or not it becomes obligated mezuzah. And therefore, as is the common theme, when there's a machlokes, we put it up, but without a beracha to come to the opinion that it's not obligated. Okay, let's say you have a house with many different entranceways. So let's say sometimes you'll have a side door. So provided that they were originally intended to be used, as is generally the case, so they all become obligated mezuzah, even if at a certain point you stopped using that entirely, but since when it was built to be used to go in and out, so then it remains obligated in mezuzah. Okay, let's say very often you'll have a doorway with there's enough. It's wide enough to have two doors. So, and you'll have this beam in the middle, right? Like a double door, right? So if for whatever reason there's only one door, meaning there's a beam in the middle, but there's one door that covers both of them, so then it's only obligated in one mezuzah. However, as is often the case, if there's this beam in the middle, so often you're going to have two doors. So is it obligated in one mezuzah or two mezuzahs? So then the halacha is as follows. If it goes, let's see if there's a picture over here. Okay, one second. So if the beam in the middle is the width of a tefach, so then, and there's two different doors, so if it's the width of a tefach, then it splits it up into two different doorways. Tefach is literally like this amount. So,
about 4 inches.
Yeah, about give or take, depending on who you ask. So if it's split up by that amount, so then it becomes two different doors, and we require two mezuzahs, and you often see this. However, if it's less than that, then we view it as if it's non-existent, and it only has one beracha. It only has one mezuzah.